Deviate Cycles was born in Stirling, Scotland, from two friends, Chris, a mechanical engineer, and Ben, a mountain bike tour guide. In 2017, they released their first bike, named The Guide, a full carbon rig that featured a gearbox and a high pivot. Although back then high pivot bikes were a rare thing, fast forward to 2024, and it's easy to say that many brands have a high pivot in their bike range. In basic terms, a high pivot is meticulously placed above the chainring and is where the rear triangle pivots from. Placing the pivot point higher creates a more rearward axle path, allowing the rear wheel to move back and up when it hits an obstacle, making the bike flow more effortlessly over rough terrain. The Guide featured a Pinion C-Line 12-speed gearbox, which gave reliability and performance even if it did weigh more than a standard drivetrain. It allowed riders to change gear without having to pedal. Removing the rear derailleur saved on expensive replacement costs too. If you're like me and have ever smashed your derailleur, you'll know. The bike had 27.5-inch wheels, 160mm of rear travel, and full internal cable routing to keep things looking tidy. There was a massive amount of interest in the Guide, but sales just weren't what they expected. So, after many months of prototyping, in 2020, Deviate Cycles released their second bike. Their aim was to build from the ground up a very capable trail bike. Nearly everything on the bike was redesigned. Chris and Ben ditched the Pinion gearbox and opted for a conventional rear derailleur. The carbon frame was less curvy, slacker and longer. The suspension layout had changed, and the shock was mounted further up the frame. 140mm of rear travel paired with a 150mm fork made the Highlander the perfect trail bike. The bigger 29-inch wheels combined with the newly improved kinematics made the bike forgiving and playful. It was reviewed from well-known mountain bike magazines and gained popularity quickly. Deviate responded to customers and boosted the rear travel to 150mm. More suspension and a slacker head angle made for a rowdier and hard-hitting bike. A bigger rocker link was available to buy for anyone looking to upgrade their previous Highlander. In October 2021, a new prototype bike was spotted from the under-21 racer Henry Crees at the Enduro World Series in Tweed Valley. After plenty of real-world testing, they finally released a Claymore in June 2022. With 165mm of rear travel, a 170mm fork and a head angle of 64.3 puts the Claymore deep inside the Enduro race bike category. After 3 years since the launch of the original Highlander, the Highlander 2 was released. Although it may look exactly the same, the bike has a lighter frame, is UHD compatible, has 145mm of rear travel and has tweaked suspension kinematics. Stay tuned for the 2025 e-bike release.